In college, I used to like to play every pickup game of whatever was going on that ever happened on campus. I played a lot of ultimate frisbee, a lot of volleyball, whatever came up. And so naturally, when it came time for the season of intramural basketball, I signed up. A sport that obviously fits my body type and skills. And so I signed up for basketball. And now I played a lot of basketball in my backyard, playing horse, but 5-on-5 was a little different. Nonetheless, I want to play for this team, so I decide, you know what, I'm going to practice ahead of time. So I found my way into the gym at the college when no one else was around, and I just practiced shots, trying to make sure I do okay out there. Well, it comes time for the day of the first game. They just hand out these jerseys to everyone. Apparently, one size fits all, right? I grabbed this jersey and put it on, and literally I'm pulling the jersey out of the bottom of my shorts because it's not what it is. Clearly, I'm not the typical basketball player. Nonetheless, we get started. I practice. I know I've got my shot down, and I say, okay, who's covering who? Okay, Tyler, you got the girl. And at first I was offended, and I thought, it's probably the only one I can cover. So, nonetheless, I'm playing, but things start going better. One game, I think it was the first one of the season. The very first shot, they get the tip off, they come down. I'm guarding my guy in the three-point line, and probably because I'm out of position, because I don't know exactly, I'm guarding him too close. And this guy was actually the point guard on the actual basketball team. Runs up, just whips it around the three-point line, and I'm standing right there. I cut into the lane, steal it, go for a layup. First 2 points I ever scored in a real basketball game ever. But the best part of the season was later on, we got to a game where it came down to like a tie game in the final couple minutes. And since quickness was like the one thing I had, it turned out there was a loose ball. And I got to it first. There was no one around. The time was going out. I'm standing right at the front of the three-point line, right there at the top of the key. So I just grab it, throw it up there, drain the three-pointer. Last shot made in the game, and we won. Not so bad for a guy guarding a girl, huh? To keep in mind, I scored at least 5 points that season. I'm playing on the worst team of an intramural basketball league at a tiny Bible college with a bunch of kids who never played any real sports. Nonetheless, I'm proud of that moment. But strangely, I have always had a fascination and joy with basketball. And as such, I'm going to take a minute here at the beginning to indulge in a piece of news that was big for me this week. And I promise I'll tie it in my sermon well. But this past week, there was a retirement that happened for a player by the name of Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan played 19 years for the San Antonio Spurs, and he finally retired this past week. Just out of the blue, no one knew it was coming. And the interesting part about this is that if I named players in the NBA that you have heard of at some point in your life, how many of you have heard of a guy by the name of LeBron James at some point in your life? Okay, maybe not everyone, maybe the wrong crowd, but a lot of you have. How many of you have heard of Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant? How many of you have heard of Tim Duncan? A few, okay. Here's the thing. You may not have heard him, but I would wonder why, right? Tim Duncan won 5 championships with the San Antonio Spurs over 3 decades. Because his first one was in '99, so literally 3 decades. He won 2 league-wide MVPs, 3 MVP of the finals. He played 19 seasons, and they made the playoffs every single season. And in those 19 seasons, only once did they finish with under 50 wins on the season out of 82 games. Most people rate Tim Duncan, the experts, as one of the top 10 or 15 players of all time, and probably the best power forward of all time. So I'd ask you again, have you heard of him? And why is it that we don't hear about Tim Duncan as much? And the truth is that Tim Duncan, and this is one of the reasons I like him, was known not as an outgoing personality. He didn't get on the news. He didn't do crazy things. He wasn't talked about a lot. He was a very quiet, low-key guy. And his nickname became the Big Fundamental. You ever heard that? The Big Fundamental. Because he wasn't this outgoing in the NBA with all of this, gang around him and all. He was quiet. And as such, he quietly led his team over 19 seasons to all of those championships. He won more regular season games than any player in the history of the NBA over his 19 years. Known as the Big Fundamental, because he did the little things right day in and day out. Now, we won't talk about basketball anymore, I promise. But here's the thing. This idea of going back to the fundamentals and doing the little things right as the basis for success in bigger things. That is an idea that goes broadly across so many different areas of life. So we know that coaches, whatever sport you were involved in at some point, what do they preach over and over again? Fundamentals. Do the little things right. Pay attention. Play the game the right way. This is how you succeed at the higher level. You've heard of the military guy who was in the military all those years, and he goes and retires, and you find out every day, as soon as he wakes up, what does he do? He makes his bed. I haven't made my bed on purpose in 10 years. And yet they say that little discipline of getting up and doing what you're supposed to do, in the minds of those people is the basis of their success through all of life. Going back to the fundamentals, doing the little things right. Have you heard of a guy by the name of Benjamin Franklin? Yeah, you've heard of him, right? More than Tim Duncan, right? Okay. Benjamin Franklin had this phrase that he came up with, you've heard it before, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and what? Wise. Okay, now, obviously we're in a series on wisdom, and I'm thinking of this idea of going back to the fundamentals and doing the little things right. There was a coach for UCLA named John Wooden, who won more championships than anyone. And he started every season out teaching his players how to tie and lace their shoes correctly. Because that's how you have success, doing the little things right. So if Tim Duncan and John Wooden and every military guy ever and Benjamin Franklin all agree that doing the little things right, let's try and think about Jesus. Have you heard of that one? Okay. There's a little story in Luke chapter 16. I've got it on the board here. And you've probably heard this before, but I want to mention it because I think it's somewhere along the same lines of this idea we're pulling out. So, Luke chapter 16, verse 10 through 12 says this. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with very much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? If you could be faithful in these little things, maybe you get to do the bigger things better. And that suggests to me, through all these sources, and most importantly, Jesus himself, that doing the little things right and going back to the fundamentals maybe has something to do with this idea of wisdom that we've been talking about. Organizing life, orienting it, doing things the right way, based on doing the fundamental things the right way. And so I've been contemplating that idea this week. This idea of wisdom based in going back to the fundamentals. And I've thought about all of these important things in life, these fundamental, everyday things that we ought to do well, that will contribute to our greater success at a larger stage. And I came up with several ideas. First of all, the basic fundamental things in life to do right if you want to do things well. Number one, haven't they always said get a good night's sleep? It's pretty fundamental, right? It's pretty basic. Go to bed, get your 8 hours, wake up. And yet we take it for granted. So many of us stay up too late, get up too early or too late. I know that in all my years of college, 1 a.m. was the earliest I went to bed. You're laughing, I'm not joking. I had a professor once, he said that every day he forces himself to make 2 decisions that he absolutely hates. Every day he has to have at least 2 decisions he hates. And those are 1, getting up in the morning, and 2, going to bed at night. How many of us want to get up? How many of us want to stop what we're doing and go to sleep? And yet, the wisdom of actually organizing our life and getting the right number of hours keeps everything else in line, doesn't it? If I don't get enough sleep, I get cranky. If I get cranky, my wife gets unhappy. My wife's unhappy, I don't do my job very well. These little things fall in line, and you actually do the fundamental things to make it all work. How about this? Eating a good, healthy diet, right? Fundamental thing in life. Everyone's got to eat. They say you're supposed to eat the right way. But I don't know about you, I don't like eating my vegetables very much. My wife will tell you. I'll go home and eat peanut butter and jelly and ramen noodles if no one tells me to eat better. And nonetheless, that has absolute consequences in life. It affects health. It affects our mental stamina. It affects how we live in moderation, how we do things the right way. It's the fuel for our life, and if we get it wrong, everything else doesn't fall into place. It's one of those fundamental little things you have to do right for everything else to make sense. How about other basic fundamentals in life? What about saving money? How many here are good at that? How many are lying? No. I'm teasing, I'm sorry. But really, this idea of delaying gratification, saving money, doing things a little bit later, waiting till the appropriate time. I mean, it's so simple, it's so basic that you spend the money you actually have, and yet our society has turned that upside down in so many ways. It's one of those fundamentals that gets off track. And we think we're going to do life well, skipping over those little things. I mean, come on, I'm not even talking about the Bible yet. I'm talking about basic fundamentals of life. So let's get into the Bible. What are the fundamentals of being a Christian that we often get wrong? Have you heard about this? Reading your Bible. And we say that that's important, right? That we need to know the Bible. We need to understand it, and yet we often don't know it as well as we're supposed to. We often don't invest. We don't often get into the Word and understand it at a deeper level. We don't take the time each day to do that and invest in the words of God. And it's one of those little things that affects the rest of your Christian life. How about praying constantly, as Paul taught us, praying without ceasing? How many of us really take the time to focus our minds away from all of the other stuff in the day and do that little thing right of communicating and talking to the God of the universe? And we miss out and trip up on the little things. And it affects everything else. Going to church regularly. We don't want to commit to a community full time. It may go back to that sleeping in thing on Sunday mornings. How about treating others well, the golden rule? Treat others as you would have them treat you. The little things we mix up. And these are the fundamentals. These are the things, the little things we're supposed to get right in a wise life that makes everything else fall in place. And so instead today, we have people who don't sleep the right hours and stay up all night but wonder why they are tired during the day. We have people who don't eat right, but go and get coffee so they have more energy in the morning. Not that coffee is bad, but we expect that we should have more energy, but we don't eat the right way. We have Christians who never speak to God, but expect Him to answer every rare prayer they lift up with an absolute yes immediately. We have people who never read their Bible and yet think they know everything. We have people who get to points in life where it's an absolute mess. And over their whole life, they have made poor decision after poor decision after poor decision and never gotten any of the little things right. And then they look back at me and others and say, how did it get to be this way? How did it end up like this? It's because poor decisions. It's because a lack of wise living. It's because you weren't doing the little things right. And it's not as if that can't be recovered. God's grace is tremendous. But the life of wisdom is the life that goes back to the fundamentals. I have other fundamentals that I have learned, especially in the last few years working as a minister. If you don't mind, I'm going to give you a few in my mind that stand out to me, the little things that make my life effective. And this is my own personal. I try to remember that I am to listen 3 times as much as I speak to other people. I think people get the idea that because I work as a minister or a preacher, that my entire living depends on me saying a lot and saying the right things. But the truth is, I believe with all my heart that my job hinges not upon the things I actually say, but actually on the things that I don't say than maybe I wanted to, or the things I reword before they come out of my mouth. Those are the things that actually keep my job going. And it's not because I'm afraid of speaking the truth. It's because positions of responsibility require more listening than talking, more understanding than explaining, more serving. When I go and I visit a sick person in the hospital, I literally ask 1 or 2 questions and try my best to let them talk the whole time. It's so much easier that way. Another thing I've learned in life recently, having patience with those I don't particularly care for at first. I spend so much time with so many different people. And of course, all of us at some time will have that person who slightly rubs us the wrong way for whatever reason. Maybe only at the beginning, but seeing the best in them, being patient with them, spending time with them, and serving them, just as everyone else, even if their name is Steve Wheeler. Sorry, you forced me to do that. Patience with those I may have trouble with is absolutely key in my life. Another phrase I made for myself is trying to make sure at every moment I use my adult emotions. My adult emotions. Now that's my own personal phrase, but here's the thing. I work in church and I talk to people and all these issues come up like, oh man, this is a big deal. What's going to happen here? What's going on here? How's this going to work out? You know, I'm a little upset about this. And adult emotions. No getting upset. No taking criticism hardly. Adult emotions. It's fine. We'll deal with that. Stay focused on what we're doing. There are more important things. Now those emotions cannot get me off track or cause me to respond in a bad way. More quiet, more listening. Then think about it, then speak. Adult emotions, quiet it down, and deal with it in a mature way. My job hinges on doing that every single day. And it is like dying. I'm sorry to say it so harshly, but it is. It's like dying to use those adult emotions every time. The last one, and this one I didn't make up, I learned this from a professor. He said when it comes to compliments and criticisms from others around you, they're both like bubble gum. They're made to be chewed and not swallowed. You heard that before? I love that phrase. If someone criticizes you, it's meant to be chewed, not swallowed. Okay, let me think about that. What do I need to consider? What can be changed? What to think about it? Don't swallow it wholly. You're not invaluable. You're doing the best you can. Chew on it, don't swallow it. And the opposite is true. The very same thing is true for compliments, right? Compliments, we all want to swallow those wholeheartedly, right? But the truth is, you chew on it, you consider it, and you say, you know what? I've got things to do. I've got things to do. Adult emotions here. Set it aside, keep focused on the goal. Those have been the key to my life. I don't know why I wanted to share those. Maybe it'll mean something to you, but those little things in life. Listening more than talking, patience with everyone, adult emotions, chewing and not swallowing both compliments and criticisms. These are the things that are the fundamentals to my ministry. And so when I talk about going back to the fundamentals, I talk about doing the little things right, eating, sleeping, taking care of things, doing your relationships right, listening more than speaking. All of these things are fundamentals. And because I believe that doing the little things right is a sign of wisdom and gets the rest of your life in order, it causes people like me to give very strange advice to people in difficult situations. So someone comes to me, they say, okay, my wife and I have been arguing and we're not getting along. And my advice is, go to bed a little earlier and get some more sleep. That's absurd. What are you talking about? It has nothing to do with our problems. Well, if you get the little things in order, you get good sleep, you're in a better mood, all the other things start to make a little bit more sense. So go to bed a little earlier. It's like I'm ignoring the problem, but I'm not. Doing the little things right. Someone comes to me and says, you know, I'm broke, I don't have any money. I say, well, you know what, you haven't been in church in a while, why don't you start going back to church? What? That's ridiculous. Why would that have anything to do? I've got to work more hours, right? Actually, you go to church, you get the little things right in life, and you actually get in a community and meet other people, and then opportunities arise, and word gets around, and then things happen, and eventually you find your life in better order. It's silly, but get back in church. Do the little things right. Things will fall in place. Someone comes to me, they say, my boss at work absolutely hates me. I don't know what to do, he's just intolerable. I say, talk a little less. What does that have to do with anything? Just listen more. And it's not like I'm really dealing with these problems head on. I'm not saying, okay, you have to do this and this and this, step A, B, and C. I'm saying, get your life in order, do the basic things right, do the little things right, and the rest of it falls into place. Go back to the fundamentals. And unfortunately, the life of wisdom, not unfortunately, truly, is that simple in some ways. Doing the little things right, back to the fundamentals. And by the way, let's go a little deeper here. Tell me, when life gets to be in a storm, when you find yourself in a bad place, when you find yourself in difficult times and you can't make sense of it, and everything's going wrong, and there's a storm around you, how do you make that make sense and get on track again? What is it that keeps it in place? So if I am, say, on a bus, right, like in a city, a subway bus or something like that, and the whole thing's shaking and stopping back and forth, and I'm about to fall, what do I grab? That little handle that's on the ceiling, you know? It's that little piece of something above me that I got to hold on to stay steady. Or, say in your car, say you're in the car and my wife is driving. And she's too close behind everybody and driving recklessly. And you get scared for a moment, and the first thing you reach up and grab is what? That little handle right there, right? The thing above you that keeps you steady. You reach up and you get that thing above you that keeps you steady. I haven't been in this situation, but suppose you're on a ship in the ocean and a storm is going all around you. Excuse me. It's rocking you back and forth. What was that? I'm trying to hit a climactic emotional moment, and you people are laughing at me. Okay. You're on a boat. The storm's rocking you. How do you stay steady? You reach up and grab whatever's there, right? Okay. Here's the thing. When you're going through that storm in life and you need something to keep you steady, because it's rocking, it's going crazy, and it's so complicated, the best thing to do is reach up and grab the thing that is above you. And that is the wisdom come down from God. It's the wisdom in these books. It's the knowledge that there's something up there. It's the thing that can keep you together in all of that rocking and all of that storm. You reach up and you grab that handle given to you by God, the wisdom to live life well. And you go back to the fundamentals and things begin to make sense. And the more complicated your life is, the simpler your task should become. Because even if the whole world should fall away, we will still have to go to bed and wake up in the morning. We will still have to eat the best food that we can find. We will still have to have good relationships with other people. And no matter what goes on around you, that moment of wisdom, that handle, that knowledge of God is what keeps you steady in the storm. And the crazier it is, the simpler life should become. Go back to the fundamentals and get the little things right. And the others fall into place. We think, like that basketball player, that we are so talented that we can ignore the fundamentals. But we can't. In doing so, we will lose it all. We've been in the book of Proverbs. And this idea of grabbing onto that which keeps you steady in wisdom is all through chapters 3 and 4. It's about where we should be this week. And so I highlighted a few passages. I want you to get the idea of the emotion and the strength of this father or teacher pleading to his son about grabbing a hold of that handle of wisdom. It says in chapter 3, verse 13, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding. For she is more profitable than silver and yields better return than gold." Better than silver or gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. Such is wisdom we grab a hold of in the storm. And move forward to chapter 4. And I've got two slides, two halves up here of chapter 4. Listen to this as they talk about this same sort of thing. "Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction." This is a father pleading. "Pay attention and gain understanding. I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching. For I too was a son to my father, still tender and cherished by my mother. Then he taught me and he said to me, 'Take hold of my words with all your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live.' Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget my words or run away from them. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you." She'll protect you. "Love her, and she will watch over you." The beginning of wisdom is this. Get wisdom. Though it cost you all you have, get understanding. Cherish her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. She will give you a garland to grace your head and present you with a glorious crown. "Listen, my son, accept what I say, and the years of your life will be many. I instruct you in the way of wisdom and lead you along straight paths. When you walk, your steps will not be hampered. When you run, you will not stumble. Hold on to instruction. Do not let it go. Guard it well, for it is your life. See how emotional that plea was? Grab on to wisdom. It is your life. And don't let go. It's the handle in the car in the storm. Grab a hold of what's above you. Go back to the fundamentals. Make the good decisions. Be wise. And life is yours. Don't forget my teaching, right? The Father to the Son. I thought of one other idea to hit this morning. I have a warning. For those who will try to make wise decisions, especially if you're younger and you're still making a lot of decisions about things. Making wise decisions, doing the little things the right way, will cause others to repeat the same phrase to you over and over again. And that phrase is, oh, come on, just live a little. You ever heard that, right? Oh, just live a little. The little things don't matter. You can get away with this or that. It's not a big deal. Forget the small things. Let loose. Have some fun. Live a little. And I get the intent of that. I understand that life needs balance, that we need joy, that God desires that we live life joyfully and with goodness and go out and live well and experience all the things He has for us. But at the same time, if living a little means forgetting the small things, making unwise choices, thinking that we can get by without doing those fundamentals of life, without going to bed at the right time, or eating the right food, or staying away from drink and drugs, and ordering our life well, then live a little is, I think, unfortunate advice. Because when someone tells me that, I say, I don't want to live a little, I want to live a lot. I want to live a lot. And so, for the person who tells you as a Christian that the old-fashioned ways of doing marriage and relationships and dating is something that's bygone in another era, there's no reason to do that. It is superstition and different. I would tell you this. Have you laid in bed with your wife, laughing for hours about absolutely nothing, knowing that you have made every commitment to each other for life prior to anything else, and resting in the security and vulnerability of that moment? Have you experienced that? Those of you who are told in college not to worry about doing all of your homework or trying to do your best at things, have you ever gotten a job you absolutely loved with the education you desired and lived day in and day out with complete and total purpose, just humbled by the grace God has given you to do what you love to do every day and still get paid to do it? Those of you who said, go ahead and buy all of your toys and don't hold back, you only get to live once. Have you looked at your bank account and realized that you actually spend less than you make, with a little but not a lot to spare? Have you ever felt in your life all-encompassing peace and contentment? When someone tells you to live a little, tell them, I don't need to live a little because I'm already living it all. I'm going back to the fundamentals. I'm doing the little things right. You see, you may think that you are Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and Steph Curry, and whether or not you practice or do things the right way, you'll succeed anyway. And maybe so. But as for me, I'll be Tim Duncan. I'll do the little things right. I'll go back to the fundamentals. And I'll hang on to, for life, the wisdom God gave me to do things the right way. God, we are often in awe of the good things you've given us. We are often amazed that you would bless us as you do. And it overwhelms us to think about it in a singular moment. God, you have given us more than enough. And as we try to live this life, as things get crazy, if anyone here feels they're in a storm and being rocked back and forth, I just think it has something to do with going back to the simpler things, doing the little things right, getting to the fundamentals. I think, Lord, that if we organize life right, reading the Bible and praying and going to church and sleeping well and eating well and doing those little things right, that the other things will, Lord, fall in place. So God, in the storms that are both our individual lives and corporately in the world right now, as the storms go on, we hang on to dear life, the wisdom you have given us. It is the only thing that will keep us steady in all of this. So if the world should end tomorrow, I pray that you will find me and others getting up at a good time, reading our Bibles regularly, having a good relationship with others, and doing all of the little things right, no matter what happens around us. We give you glory, we give you honor, we thank you for your Son, the forgiveness of sins in spite of our difficulties. We ask, Lord, for your grace, let us live that wise life that we are to desire so much. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen. This is the invitation song.